Adventures in Mortuary Archaeology and Commemoration. It's Archaeodeath.
So when I'm walking down the street and when I'm talking with colleagues, obviously in the lockdown at the moment, mainly by social media, I'm constantly being asked the question, Howard, why are you so interested in Wat's Dyke and Offa's Dyke? And it's not immediately obvious to some people, because I mainly do my work on early medieval archaeology, mortuary archaeology in the past and the present. So I'm interested in death and memory and commemoration and burial archaeology in particular. So why Offa's Dyke and Wat's Dyke? Well, I'm not actually, I lie, I'm not actually asked that at all, and that's why, but I thought I'd give you a video about it anyway, giving you my impressions of why I'm doing this. And so I suppose my first point would be that I have been a co-convener of the Offa's Dyke Collaboratory from 2017, which is a research network aimed at fostering new research and dialogues between researchers from different parts of the world as well as different parts of the country, not simply on Offa's Dyke or Wat's Dyke, but the other linear monuments and other conceptions and approaches to frontiers. In other words, other ways of thinking about frontiers, borderlands, and how they worked in the early medieval world and at other times and places. So it's about using Offa's Dyke as a sort of gateway to a broader set of debates about frontiers and borderlands, past and present. So I've been Offa's Dyke Collaboratory co-convener for those two and a half years, almost 3 years now, and in that time I've been working to support others, to create a website, to create activities, and most recently we had the special Offa event in digitally because of the pandemic lockdown. We held it digitally rather than it was intended to be at Trevonan in Shropshire. We had to hold it via YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and the blog itself. And also I've been involved in producing the Offa's Dyke journal. This is volume 1 in hard copy. This is a hard copy form of a journal that is an open access electronic journal primarily, and the first issue was edited by myself and Liam Delaney, who's a doctoral researcher at the University of Chester, as well as being the HER officer, the Historic Environments Records officer for Herefordshire. So Liam has been working with me to produce volume 1 here, and volume 2 we're working on at the moment. So I've been doing all this stuff on Offa's Dyke. That's called Offa's Dyke Journal. You know, I've got an Offa's Dyke, brand new Offa's Dyke Path National Trail T-shirt. You can buy them from the Offa's Dyke Association online shop. They're great. They're great quality, very comfortable for all sizes. Even me can fit into this wonderful top. And I'm even drinking from an Offa's Dyke mug. This is how much my life is infused by Offa's Dyke and linear monuments more generally. Some would call it a problem, some would call it tragic. I just see it as a way I live. So deal with it. More Offa's Dyke tea. Can't get enough of it. Anyway, I digress. Now, what I want to talk to you about is why. Why am I doing this? Well, I've set up the collaboratory with others. I've set up the journal, range of activities, a special Offa event, because I do have a background in early medieval archaeology, and I'm interested in themes that connect my research in early medieval archaeology, themes of ethnicity and socio-political change, to do with kingdom formation and development, the movement and population movement and diaspora, but also more micro scale or regional scale movements of people. All of those type of themes relate to Wat's and Offa's Dyke and other short dykes and linear monuments across the country. So that's a connecting theme itself. I have a specialism in early medieval archaeology. They're not funerary monuments, but they are to do with memory. And my ongoing work has considered this and is considering this in terms of how these massive monuments were constructed, designed, but actually performed in their construction. But also, there's that aspect, but there's also the aspect of their legacy, the ongoing reception of those monuments through the ages, in the immediate aftermath and into later times, of how these monuments accrue memories or accrue false memories. And that's an area that is really important for us to tackle when thinking about linear monuments, because we so much equate the design and construction with the memories that come afterwards, and often those aren't the same thing. And that's at the very heart of that is, why is Offa's Dyke called Offa's Dyke? Is Offa's Dyke called Offa's Dyke because a king called Offa built it, and is that the same as how it is remembered as the dyke built by Offa? And assuming those things are the same, I think, is a false start. I'm not saying it wasn't built by Offa, I'm just saying that that is not the same question. Who built the monument and how it was later perceived are related but distinctive aspects of how these linear monuments operated in the landscape. And the same applies to Wat's Dyke, Wan's Dyke and other monuments. So I'm interested in funerary monuments, but I'm also interested in linear monuments, because while they're not places of burial, they are places that accrue association with past individuals, legends, myths, stories. They invest the landscape with meanings and memories. And these may be related to their original function and significance, or they actually might be a divergence from that, or maybe quite distinct from that. So that's a second reason I'm interested. I'm also interested in Offa's Dyke and Wat's Dyke because they actually have profound, sort of sleeping, subtle, dormant, but potentially significant impact on socio-political debates in the early 21st century, from Indie Ref and Brexit to Welsh independence, all of these type of macro level and from a British perspective anyway, political discourses, as well as international ones, from wars around the world in the in what is now Israel, Palestine, Cyprus, Korea, and the US-Mexican border. The walls and the building of them, the functions of them, the ideology and the debates about them are central to our world, in a world of refugee crisis and aftermath, in a world of rising nationalism. These are monuments that tell stories and give warnings from the past. And so, as well as being related to my early medieval archaeological specialism, as well as being related to my interest in funerary archaeology and memory, social memory and monumentality, they also link into my interest in the power of the early medieval past for bad, but also potentially for good, or for at least dialogue and construction, as well as appropriated for rhetoric, their potential for thinking about issues to do with the present. Those are all, I would suggest, very strong and good reasons for not just me, but for many people being interested in Wat's Dyke and Offa's Dyke. But there are further personal, more related reasons. I work at the University of Chester, which is a border city. It's on the Welsh border. Part of the suburbs of Chester stretch into what is now Wales. I live right on the border. I work on the border, and I live right on the border. So my work, I take students out on field trips to look at Wat's Dyke and Offa's Dyke, because they're some of the few early medieval monuments they can see in today's landscape. So there's a real good reason why it's important to be interested in these monuments. I can take students to see them. I can educate with them. I can teaching and learning can revolve around them. But linked to that, it's part of my uni, my field trips, my teaching, part of my day job, if you like. But it's also part of my personal heritage. I live a few miles from Offa's Dyke. I live about a mile from Wat's Dyke. I live between these two linear monuments. I live in that modern borderland. I live in Wales fully and unquestionably, but I'm also live in a zone that has long stretched along between the Welsh uplands and the plains of Herefordshire, Shropshire and Cheshire. This is, and Gloucestershire, I should have said at the very beginning. This zone, which parts in England, parts in Wales, the borderlands, the Welsh marches, if you like. I live in that area, but I live specifically right between the two linear monuments. And indeed, this isn't just a personal thing, it's a family thing. It goes back multiple generations. I have family that come from Monmouthshire, I have family that come from Brecconshire, I have family that come from Wrexham. So I have those connections to the broader region of the Welsh marches, and therefore I think it matters to me in a broader sense. But all those reasons aside, I must say that the rationale does come down to this being a natural evolution from an earlier research project, Project Elyseg, There's still a website for Project Elyseg, and I have produced a series of journal articles and book chapters reflecting on Project Elyseg, on the monument known as the Pillar of Elyseg near Vallecrucis Abbey, which is a Bronze Age barrow we can now attest from our excavations from 2010 to 2012, upon which is built or constructed in the early 9th century, a monument that is built a cross, a stone carved cross on a cylindrical shaft, a columnar shaft that contains the longest Latin inscription we have on a monument from the early Middle Ages. And that unique monument was the initial focus of my interest in these borderlands. And it's a monument raised by a Welsh dynasty, the kings of Powys, and in opposition to the Mercians, among other things. So one of the reasons I'm interested in Wat's Dyke and Offa's Dyke, and perhaps the fundamental inspiration for being interested in these monuments, is to understand them in terms of modern day and recent discourses of Anglo-Welsh identities, but also thinking about the very origins of both England and Wales, and particularly trying to write something from shall we say, a Welsh perspective, if that's not too strong, I think, at least from a non-English or Mercian perspective about these borderlands, at least to problematise the equation of this area with English versus Welsh, both past and present, and to think about Powys, the origins of Powys, and the monument, the Pillar of Elyseg, as perhaps, at least in part, a monument of resistance, a monument set up in opposition to and a deliberate argument with or conflict with these huge linear earthworks being established in the late 8th, early 9th century along the entrance to the Vale of Llangollen, across the Vale, blocking movements down the River Dee towards Bangor-on-Dee. How the Pillar of Elyseg is set in opposition to them. And indeed, it's out of that perspective, and that's something I have brought to the table, and I will keep going. It's not necessarily a singularly Welsh perspective, but a borderlands perspective that tries to see the monuments as part of a more complex topographical and monumentalised landscape in which the Mercian kings are not the only agents, they're not the only voices. So I hope that this little video has given you a bit of backstory, a bit of reason for why I'm such a fervent supporter of research and public engagement focusing on Offa's Dyke, Wat's Dyke, its companion smaller monument but perhaps in many ways more intriguing, and the broader landscape of the Anglo-Welsh borderlands, the Welsh marches as they are today. Not because I've got a love affair with Offa, although I think he is an intriguing figure. In fact, I think most scholars would say, if anything, even in his time, he was renowned for being a bit of an exceptional character, shall we say. The parallels, the parodies of Make Mercia Great Again and jokes about that might not be totally erroneous, shall we say. That he had a distinctive personality and kingship, even in his day, perhaps. But it's less about Offa and more about the communities and kingdoms affected by the dyke building and their legacies. And that's what I'm interested in pursuing with my research. Now, I could tell you more, and I will in further videos outline some of what I'm doing myself rather than these collaborative and linkages and public engagement. I am working on publications to do with Offa's Dyke and Wat's Dyke, and more on those in further videos. But I thought this would be a good introduction to why I even care about Offa's Dyke and Wat's Dyke.
If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to Howard Williams on YouTube. In addition, consider following the Archaeodeath WordPress blog at howardwilliamsblog.wordpress.com.